welcome, Boxcom Global Community Spotlight. I have a battery that's charging. We're now on 25% already somehow. But welcome, I am your host, Hobbit. It's great to be back here. For anyone who doesn't know, the Boxcom Global Community Spotlights are here to chat with beatboxers across the globe, as we have the ability to do now with the joyous fun of the internet and being locked down here, there, and everywhere. And today I am joined by my lovely guest, the founder, CEO of Long Island Beatbox, the man himself, JACKNASTY. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. And yourself?
Yeah, good, man. A lot better now. My battery's charging.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's certainly better that way. But yeah, how's things? How's things out in the States?
Honestly, pretty good. I'm in New York, and obviously the thing on all our minds is coronavirus, right? So if I could just jump right into that. New York did a pretty good job over the past few months getting, slowing down the rate of exposure of coronavirus to everyone, and everyone's been wearing, not everyone's been wearing. Point, right? It was in April, it was very bad. It was arguably one of the worst spots in the world, but now New York is pretty good, and it's the southern part of the United States that's pretty bad.
That's all right.
That's pretty good for us. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, and as soon as school started back up, like everyone started getting coronavirus again. So pretty upsetting. I know the high school in my town, the one that I went to just a few years ago, they just closed like yesterday or the day before because a student and a faculty member both came down with a case. But otherwise, I mean, things are pretty optimistic, I'd say, around here.
Yeah, and how are things still kind of locked down a bit? Are you just being more sensible now, or?
People are very sensible. There's like, for example, there's lines outside of the grocery store, and there's mainly outdoor seating for restaurants. I don't think there's any. No, I wouldn't say there isn't any. There's definitely some indoor dining and stuff, and you can go inside places, but the mask policy is pretty enforced pretty hard, and obviously some people don't. But we like to think that everyone will do it. And yeah, I'd say it's pretty good, but I think that it'll probably get hit a little hard, especially with the cold weather coming. Like, it just started to get pretty cold, and you can't really do as much outside comfortably when it's so cold. So we'll see how it all changes, how the businesses will change their practices and adapt to the cold weather, because it was pretty easy during the summer, I'd say.
For sure, yeah, same over here. But I'm glad you're keeping safe and staying healthy. That's the main thing.
Yeah, I haven't left my basement very much this summer.
I think everyone's in that same boat. We've kind of bunkered up and got like a whole new love for the room that we spend a lot of time in.
Yeah, pretty much.
But yeah, man. So yeah, thanks for coming on. It's I'm looking forward to having some chatting, getting into knowing about more stuff that you do. And I think we're going to start off with the classic, and I'd like to get to know about you, about your beatbox journey. How did you discover it, and why are you here now?
Oh, okay. So starting from all the way in the beginning, I went to summer camp. Yeah, this is where it started. So I went to summer camp when I was like 12, and my friend Dylan, he just was a beatboxer, and I had never heard beatboxing before, and he showed me some of Reaps One's videos, like Move. Right, that was the one that got everyone into it. But I was also really into that classic Dave Crow, on the streets of UK beatboxing video that he did. I'm sure you've seen it. That video, I've watched that video like every day when I was a kid. Got me really into it. I tried mimicking the beats and stuff. But yeah, those two videos got me into it. And also, at camp, we would do beatbox battles before I had even discovered beatbox battles, and we would do like tag team routines. We would just like make stuff up because I thought it was cool. And I've been a musician for my entire life. I've been playing guitar since I was like 8 years old. And I've always been in bands, doing music with other people. But hearing another beatboxer, I just thought it was super cool. And then he taught me beats like the classic, like, like stuff like that. It got me really started, and like. I was doing that back when I was like 12, and I remember I was on vacation at the end of that summer with my family, and at night, instead of going out and having fun with my family, I would just like sit in my room watching beatbox tutorials. It's a little lame, but hey, that's how I got started on there. Yeah, big up to Dave Crow.
Yeah,
he really got me into it.
And shout out to Dylan as well for opening your eyes to beatbox.
Dylan's the man. Dylan is the man. But yeah, so I started beatboxing then. I was in like seventh grade, I think. So I was 12 years old, and in ninth grade, I had joined my first a cappella group because my high school actually had a pretty advanced a cappella scene. There was about maybe 150 kids in the a cappella program, and there was like 8 student-run groups. It was really impressive, honestly. But I got into a group called the Acafellas, and also a group called the Rolling Tones. I guess, like, a cappella groups, they all have their great puns in that. But so I got into those groups, and I actually, during my audition for them, I crab scratched. Right, I was doing like, and in the back of the room, my best friend Jordan, like I've known him for so long now, he stood up and he was like, "Yo, this kid can crab scratch. Let's go!" It was awesome. He was cheering me on, and he like begged everyone to let me in his a cappella group. So he was the leader of the Acafellas at the time. And like through becoming friends with him, I got really into beatboxing, and he showed me more about Swiss beatbox, and like I got really into those types of videos and watching them and learning from them. Honestly, that's I would say with the start of that journey for me would be like that 7th grade to 9th grade time, and I started to get really into it. And then throughout high school, I was kind of like the beatbox guy. Like I would just be beatboxing in the halls. I'd be
It's always got to
beatboxing.
be one.
I was also the longboard guy, so I'd be like longboarding to school. You'd very often see me riding my longboard around town at the same time as I was beatboxing. Like I've had people come up to me and be like, "Man, that's a legendary JACKNASTY moment I just witnessed. Like he's skateboarding and beatboxing." But yeah, so I was that guy, and it actually was really funny because by the end of my high school career, I had created this like vibe where beatboxing was like expected at my school. There weren't many beatboxers before I came in, but as I left, there was maybe like 4 or 5 people who were willing to like spit beats with each other all the time, and it was really cool. And we also had a bunch of rappers that would come, and we'd sit in the cafeteria, and we would just like have a cipher like every day during our off period. And it was really awesome. So we kind of like created this whole like thing, and I hope it still happens. Honestly, I'm 2 years out of high school now, but I'd like to think that there's still some beatboxing going on there.
You created a beatbox scene within your own high school. That's pretty.
I really did. I really did there. It was pretty cool. Yeah, so that's like my start, I guess.
Sick, man. And then, so you say you used to play guitar and stuff? Did you have quite like a musical background growing up, or is it just something you like studied in school, or?
Yeah, so I started playing guitar. I remember when I was a kid and I went to like some family outing with my parents, I saw a live musician, and I was like, man, I want one of those. So for the holidays, my parents got me my first guitar, and I started playing. I started taking lessons. I took lessons for a bunch of years, and I just loved making sound, making music. Like I never liked playing other people's songs. Like I could never, like my teacher would always teach me like covers and stuff, and I would always just forget them because I wasn't like what I played the guitar for. I just liked to make the music, and I liked to do it myself. So I don't know, that's kind of where it came from. So I started playing guitar when I was like 8 years old. And I think when I started high school, I picked up the piano as well. I took lessons for a short time and then started teaching myself. And that was after I started beatboxing. So I guess it's like guitar, then beatboxing, then piano. And I kind of like through playing guitar and having like a good knowledge of these instruments, I'm able to play like bass and drums. So I'm kind of like a one-man band almost. Sick. But I also have such an immense love for music itself. And I took music theory courses and learned a lot about music theory and history, and just had such a great time doing that. I'm actually a theory nut. Like I'm one of those guys. I'm not a stickler, but I do love some good music theory.
It's good to know, man. It's interesting because I've had a few of these conversations, and there's quite a lot, especially within the beatbox community. There's a lot of beatboxers who don't go through that kind of music theory route of knowing like the actual academic ways of music. So it's cool to speak to someone who really is into that. So you probably have a like kind of different way in and a different knowledge into like knowing some sort of beats and
I think you're right. I think that a lot of beatboxers, a lot of musicians in general, like I'm also a producer. I know lots of producers just don't know anything about music, right? But they're amazing producers. Same thing with beatboxers or any musicians. Like, if you have a good ear and you have a good mind for it, you can make some fantastic music. But I would think that the approach to making the music is pretty different. Like, for example, like I might think in more like phrases and musical structure, whereas someone else might think in like a genre.
Yeah, sure. Sure,
right?
sure.
But also
Yeah,
it
yeah.
has its downfalls because I might, people who have music theory knowledge and have taken years of theory classes and all that and lessons might get stuck in their head like, I have to do this the right way. And whereas other people will just go with the flow. And over the years of my practice, like I've been learning how to combine the two to make like a more cohesive flow and style for myself in all of my instruments.
Yeah, sick. Yeah, it's interesting, man. It's like two different approaches, but they both cater for each other as well.
Yeah.
So let's go after high school and stuff. When you came out there and you were beatboxing, did you start performing at all, or did you go into battles, or?
Yeah, so actually my first event was the 2017 American Championships. I was a junior in high school, so it's still in high school times.
Okay.
I think I was a junior in 2017. I don't know. The point is, it was in 2017, and I was with my friend Jordan that I mentioned before, and he brought me there, and we had such a good time. And I had never followed the competitive scene before that, but after that, I couldn't let go of it. I was so hyped to just be a part of it, and I did an elimination there, and it was pretty rough. I'm not gonna lie. But I got through it, and the biggest part was I got to perform in front of a few hundred people for the first time. I never did solo beatbox on stage on a microphone before. It was a good learning experience. And then I spent the entire next year, so after 2018 champs, I spent that entire year. I went to Midwest in Ohio.
Yep.
Yeah, no, wait, was it in Ohio? No, it was in Chicago.
Oh.
There's a funny story around that, but I could tell you that later. And then I went to Legends as well, and Smash Sounds and American Champs. So I went to 5 or 6 events that year, and I never made it to Great North. That's my biggest regret.
Yeah, Great North. I've always wanted to get to Great North as well.
Yeah, that's my biggest regret. I still haven't gone to any of the Canadian battles, and I'm so close, so I have no excuse.
Yeah, you have no
But
excuse.
I forget the question, but
I was asking, if you started performing or battling.
So I did a limbs at all of these, but I never quite made a top 16. And the only time I actually got to battle was at one of those super low key underground beatbox house events. I don't know if you know about them, but every month the beatbox house would do a battle in Bushwick in Brooklyn, or they would do a concert or event. It would be different every month. And I actually made top 16 or top 8, whatever they did that time at that event. I think here's what it is. I didn't go to battle because I'm not huge on battling. I love watching battles and I love being there, but I'm not huge on battling myself. So I went there and they had 7 people that had signed up to battle, and they were like, "Jack, we need one more person to battle." And I was like, "All right." So I battled against Bizkit, and obviously I lost, but it was a good time.
Sick. Yeah, shout out to the Beatbox House, man. Those events always look really, really sick, and
they have a good time. They know how to throw a good party.
Yeah, yes, they do. Shout out to the Beatbox House family. Big love as always. So yeah, I guess going on from that, what's the scene like in America for beatboxing? Because I remember I was out there in 2010 for the first American champs, and I've seen it grow. So within your time of being in the scene, what's it been like for you being a beatboxer within the American scene?
Honestly, it's been very supportive and really nice. I'm not so sure what it was like before really 2016. Like I said, I didn't really join till 2017. However, I'm aware of what happened in 2016, but not much of before.
Sure.
But I'd say it's very supportive. I have a really supportive group of people here in New York. I know there's a group chat of us in New York City beatboxers that are all just around this area, and we're all just so supportive. I consider that my closest beatbox family because I can go to any of those people and just talk to them and have a really nice conversation. And I really got to know a lot of those people through the past few years of being in the scene. I'm not so connected to the other parts of the country, West Coast especially. I don't really know that many Californian beatboxers. I've met a few online, but I wouldn't say that I met a lot of them in person, especially because it's pretty hard for someone on the West Coast to come over to American Champs because it's such a long flight and such a big expense for them. Meanwhile, for me, I have a $20 train ticket and I go to American Champs. It's pretty easy for me. There's a big difference. And that's also kind of interesting. A lot of people say that American Champs should move around instead of just being in New York, or maybe it should, because the country is just so big.
I think that's the thing with especially for a lot of the kind of beatbox world to understand that America is so it's so vast in that way that if you're having a battle in in New York, for example, the American Champs, or if you're having a battle in California, like that trip, like you can't drive. I mean, you could drive it, but it's probably not advised. But like to get
No.
there is like it's an expensive plane ticket, and it's like I could probably fly from London to New York cheaper than it might cost to go from New
I mean,
York to
I'm pretty sure that London to New York is like a similar distance to California to New York or like LA, right?
Yeah. So that's the crazy thing. So I think it's amazing that the scene is like growing so much in America, but it's still like there's probably pockets of it which are kind of a bit unknown maybe as well. But I think it's great that people are kind of setting stuff up, and that brings me on to my next question for you, which is it's represented there on your t-shirt, and I mentioned at the beginning you're the founder and CEO of Long Island Beatbox, aka LIBBX, where you've thrown a few live events, including battles as well, if I'm right. So yeah, just for the audience, let them know why and how did you go about setting that up?
So I was really inspired by American Champs. It's a really like important event to me, that first and the second event that I went to, which was 2017, 2018 Champs. And at the 2018 American Champs, that's where I met Jake Rich, who is the he's the creator, or not the creator, but he's the one of the owners of the current American Champs as it is now. And he saw the shirt that I was wearing, and I was wearing a sweatshirt for my university, which is I go to New York University, NYU. Mm-hmm. And he pulled me aside. He didn't know who I was. He had never met me before. He pulled me aside and he said, what do you go to school for? I went there too. And I say, oh, I go to school for music business. And he said, no way. I went there for music business 10 years ago with Mark Martin. And so I just started chatting with him, and then he offered me an internship because they were looking for interns to like help them with video production and just general stuff for them. So I did like I got to know them. I got to know Jake, Mark, and Kayla, and to a lesser extent Xander for pretty much like a year. I worked with them, and I was really inspired. And that next summer, I came home from school after working with American Champs for a few months, and I said to myself, I know how to throw a beatbox battle right now. I could do it. And I also went to school for music business, and I'd just taken a class on how to throw a concert and how to book venues and stuff. So I was like, I'm taking this new knowledge I got and I'm going to throw a battle. And I didn't know what it was going to be initially, but I started an Instagram page. It all started from an Instagram page. And I said, what do I want to call this? And, I have a lot of pride in where I'm from. Like, I'm a New Yorker, but like I'm from Long Island. That's where I'm from. And so I called it Long Island Beatbox for two reasons. The first one being like I'm proud of where I'm from. And the second one being, I know that if I named it based on a geographic location, that I'd instantly have the backing of the people who lived in that place, especially if I did a good job. Sure. So I called it Long Island Beatbox. I made a logo for it, and I just started DMing people. I just started DMing all the beatboxers I knew. Please send me shout outs. Please send me shout outs. And I just grinded really hard on that. And I was able to get daily posts on that Instagram page that for an organization that did not exist prior. For about like 6 months, I had daily posts of shout outs. It was crazy. And so I had, maybe after the first month of posting shout outs, I maybe had like 200 followers, which is pretty good. Mm-hmm. And then I announced the first battle, and it really helped because I had great judges there. I got Kayla, Kazu, and Bloomer to judge that battle. Yeah, it was really good for me because I had already known these people through going to events and stuff and had a good relationship with them. And, just being able to bring them together is something I think unique to someone who's like been to a bunch of events, and you can't really do that if you haven't been to a bunch. So I just advertised it like the hell out of it. And, and it was also sponsored by American Beatbox. So they put it on their YouTube channel, and that really helped boost me up and give me a lot of credibility in that it was going to be a good event. And then, we got like somewhere around like 90 people to show up and like 25 battlers. We had a fantastic first event. And then from there, it was all set in stone. Like, this is real. This really just happened. Like, I just had the best day of my life. I grinded for like...
Who won that first battle?
Match.
Sick. Shout out to Match. Dope.
No, I'm sorry, not Match. Match won my Instagram battle. I'm so sorry. Match made it into the finals of that. It was Bizkit.
Equally, I bet that was a great final.
It was. I honestly, I feel like they both won in my mind because they made it to the finals. And I remember Match went first. I remember this so vividly. Match went, and you're like, all right, that was pretty good. Biscuit goes, and you're like, okay, it's still anyone's battle. match went again. His second round was so fire. You're like, no way Biscuit can bring this back. There is absolutely no way. And then Biscuit just destroyed him. It was ridiculous. It was like one of the most intense battles of my entire life. And like, I got to say, like, I planned that battle for maybe like 3 months. And when it finally happened, it was like the best day of my life. Because I was 18 years old, and I threw like a really amazing beatbox battle that like a lot of people had so much fun at. I had so many people tell me that was their favorite beatbox event, and it was only a 1-night event, 5 hours long. It was such a good time. Yeah.
So how did you, as being like your first event, like the only kind of experience you'd had in terms of a beatbox event was maybe going to American Champs and a few other battles in America. What was your like your process for putting on the event? How did you go about promoting it and like getting word out and stuff?
So I created a poster. I think the poster was really powerful because it was like a sleek looking poster, but I had the idea, like, I don't want it to look like a beatbox battle. I want it to look like a festival poster. So I made it in the style of a festival. So if you, I'm sure you could find it on the internet somewhere, but I had it like, you know how on a poster, it'll have like all the headliners, like big letters, big, you know, like I had it like that. And I had it really epic, and I just shared that around. I posted it around. I made sure people were coming. I pushed pre-sale on tickets. I think that was really important too. Like, even, listen, barely anyone bought tickets in pre-sale, but just the fact that I could send people a link where they could buy tickets online ahead of time made it easy for people to say like, oh, like this is a thing. Like, I'm going to go to this. Like, I know I'm going to get a ticket eventually. That plus the Instagram page, like it wasn't very big at the time. Like I had probably like 200 or 300 followers at that time, but just like from, and like I said, from knowing the New York beatbox community and some of the Boston beatbox people and the people in my general area, just from like messaging them and telling them about it, asking them individually if they would come instead of blasting it in group chats. I think that's really important. You know, a lot of people were interested and they wanted to battle. And it was at a good time too. It was in August, and I think April was GBB, and May was some Canadian battle, and then there was nothing happening in June and July, or maybe June was the point is there was some time off, and then there was some time after that before American Champs. So it was like a good middle ground for me to throw a battle.
Yeah, nice. And I think that's you raised a good point there with saying like, it's like it is about looking at the kind of year layout, and especially with beatbox events, because some like GBB, like World Champs when it happens, and all these, and American Champs, it's about finding the time when it fits in, because you wouldn't want to put your battle on a week after American Champs or something like this, or a week before.
Exactly, because people are going to be traveling. If people are going to be spending all their money traveling across the country or from another country, you don't want them to. I mean, that didn't happen the first one, but it did happen the second one. But if people are going to be traveling, you can't have them travel every week across the country. That's just not feasible for anyone, unless you're like super rich, which is like most people aren't.
Yeah, exactly, man. Yeah,
exactly. But it was really honoring because I had an amazing first battle. The videos came out pretty good. But you know, like it was my first time, so you know, there's the room to learn more. Yeah. At the end of the summer, I threw another event, but it was a really chill, low-key event. I actually did something called the Long Island Beatbox Barbecue. I bought like a shit ton of food, and we went to a public park and that had a grill, and we just grilled up for like 20 or 30 Long Island beatboxers, and like we had a good time. And then you know, that was also a lot of fun. And it was different. We all jammed and we played like frisbee or something. We walked around, looked at a lake. It was a good time. It was a different kind of beatbox event. I'd never been to something like that. So
I think that's a really nice, it's a great concept to have, because again, with beatbox events, there can be so many battles that happen, and it's great when there are successful battles and ones where they're fun, but then it's also great to have a beatbox social, and a beatbox barbecue sounds great. And I want to the next one.
the whole purpose for me, the greatest part about the beatbox scene for me is not the beatbox battles or like the beatbox concerts. It's the fact that I can be with a tight group of people that share a similar interest in me. And I know a lot of people in the beatbox community around the world share that sentiment, but it's actually really important to me because, you know, for example, like I'm a guitarist, but I don't have that kind of connection with any other guitarist in the world, you know, because it's not like I can, you know, in the way that I can hit up like I mean, I don't know if I can do it, but the way that a beatboxer can hit up like a really famous person, like if I like world champions like Alexino or Alem or something, and get a response because just by saying like I'm a beatboxer, like like if I hit up John Mayer or Ed Sheeran saying I'm a guitarist, they're not going to answer me. It's just a fact.
It's a very good point. So everyone, go hit up Ed Sheeran now and get a beatbox collab on.
Yeah, everyone tell Ed Sheeran to respond to me.
Yeah. Do it for the good of Long Island beatbox. So you said that you were planning for another event this year, and obviously due to the current situation, it's been cancelled. Have you had any thoughts about maybe adapting to an online version of anything, or are you leaving that to other people?
Well, here's the thing. I am not a huge fan of Discord battles. I like judging them. I like listening to them. They're fun and all, but I don't really feel engaged as I would at like a normal live event. And that's, sure. I think, a lot of people feel that way, but I'm not so much an online beatboxer. That's why you won't really find me on Discord so often. However, I have found an online medium that really speaks to me, that is really fantastic for beatboxing, and that is virtual reality. And I found this after another class at school where we discussed how modern technology shapes the music industry and stuff. And I did my final project on making music through virtual reality and collaboration between artists and stuff. And that's where it kind of hit me. I was like, hey, this is like actually pretty cool. So I went and you can access a bunch of VR applications just on your computer without a VR headset. And so you can like experience this and talk to strangers and beatbox for them or do whatever you want just on your computer. Easier if you have a Windows than a Mac, though. So I went on this app called Altspace, which is known for their live events. And they actually had Reggie Watts come in for like 10 weeks recently. And he did like comedy and beatboxing. Yeah, and so, I actually went to one of the shows in VR, but that's another story. So I went in there and I realized like, man, like this is really cool. I feel really engaged with these people. And it's really cool that you can see them. Like, for example, on Discord, you can video chat, but after you reach a certain cap of people, right, in the room, you can't video chat anymore. And also the biggest issue I have with Discord is that you can't have multiple conversations in one server. You have to like leave the room if you want to go talk to someone. And what's solved there is that if you're in virtual reality, basically we can be standing here having a conversation and I'd see your avatar and I can see your head move and your hands move and your mouth move, but it's like a cartoon avatar. But, 20 feet to the right of me or over there, right, you can see more avatars chatting, but you can't hear what they're saying because they're far away, because they're in a real location, right? And it's something called proximity, like it's proximity audio, or I'm sure there's a better term for it. But basically, the closer you are to someone's avatar, like you are in a video game, right? The closer you are to someone's avatar, the easier it is for you to hear them. And also you can hear them in a stereo way. So if they're to the right of you, you hear them to the right of you, and if they're to the left, you hear them to the left. Kind of like if you've ever played like PUBG, right? As you get closer to someone, or it's exactly like that, but it's like in a social setting rather than, a game where you're killing people. Yeah,
it's much better. So and you are to go on further to talk about that. You are the co-founder of a new company called VR Beatbox, and I think I did watch a video. There's a video on Swiss Beatbox, right? Of like a highlights video, which. Was it Wookiees on that?
Yeah, we had Wookiees. We had Cymax and Vino come in for a show. I think it was like a month ago now. We did a show in Altspace, and we got something like 100 people to come, over the course of the hour-long show. And it was really cool. Honestly, it was my first like really good, really well put together show. And we're actually planning another one soon with some other beatboxers. We're going to get Match, Dr. Brick, CTB, and Ghost in there as well. It's going to be really awesome. But I mean, it's super cool. I think it's more genuine to connect with people on VR than it is to connect with them on like Discord or Zoom or something, just because there's that feeling of space. There's that real feeling of being in a shared location rather than being like, for example, like right now I'm talking to you over Skype, but I feel like I'm in my basement. I feel like you're wherever you are, but if we were in VR right now, I'd feel like, oh, we're both like on the moon together.
Yeah, exactly. It sounds great, and I mean, it looks great. For anyone who hasn't seen the video, can you explain about the kind of setup of what it looks like? Because I think with VR stuff, I guess some people just think, because there's a lot of examples of VR kind of events that have happened online, and some of them are in like really random locations, like under the sea or on the moon or something. But what have you for that one especially? What did you decide on doing for the setup?
So I don't have much world building experience like in these VR applications. You know, it's all driven on user created content, and that's like for events as well as worlds and like character skins, and pretty much everything is user created. But I took like a stage template and I just put up posters for the event that I had made behind it. So it like I advertised the artists as they were on. And if you check out the video, I think someone dropped the link to the highlights in the chat. So if you're watching the chat, you can click on that to check out the highlights reel. But basically it was, you know, you'd come up, you'd stand on stage, and everyone in the crowd would be muted, but everyone on stage would have permissions to speak. And they would actually have their voice amplified so that everyone can hear them regardless of how far away they are. So there's that proximity thing goes away. And so you're able to perform, and people in the crowd are able to interact with each other, and they could dance with each other, especially if they're in VR. Like they can make their character move in very genuine ways. It's really cool. Like if you see, I mean, you'll have to get in there sometime. I'll send you a link. It's called Altspace, but you'll see like people in there like very genuinely gesticulate. And for those of you guys who don't know, gesticulate means when you move your hands when you talk. They very clearly gesticulate. You know, and they speak, and it's just really cool to see people doing that. And you know, you'd be in the crowd, someone's beatboxing or making music of any kind, and you just dance, like you really dance, like it's that's something you don't do on Discord. If you're on Discord, you're not gonna dance by yourself. But if you're with other people in a VR space, you might dance. Yeah. It's actually, you know, something really special that might come over you, and you might just feel the urge to dance.
I think that's a really unique and special way of doing something online, especially with a beatbox event, because, like you say, it's so when you're at an event, it's so interactive, and the whole like being able to look at someone when someone does a sick drop and be like, oh my God, or like vibe out when when Sarah's dropping a really dope loop and you just want to vibe. It's like that great thing about it. So it sounds like an awesome way of doing it. Do you have any big plans with the application and what you want to do with it?
Yeah, I mean, I want to eventually get like weekly. The goal is to get weekly beatbox meetups of any kind, right? Whether it's a show or a battle. We already actually did a battle in another app called Rec Room, and it went fantastically. We had a top 8. It was really great. But yeah, so I want to do weekly meetups or shows or concerts or showcases or whatever we can do to get people engaged and coming back on a weekly schedule. Because I think that what's really special is that, like, you know, even if you're not going into Altspace for an event, it's really cool that you can just go in to socialize and meet other people and beatbox for people. I think what's really another really special thing is that, you know, I go into Altspace not just for events, but if I have a flow and I'm beatboxing, I'm just like, all right, I'm going to go beatbox for some people right now. So I go into a public room and I'll just beatbox for like one person, but then like more people will hear me, so they'll come over and I'll get a crowd of like 20 or 30 people just in like a public space, and they're all just like dancing and vibing and commenting. And then what's really great is that lots of people, when they hear you beatboxing in VR, they'll try it themselves because there's no shame, right? You're behind in a different way that you're behind a wall on Discord or something like that. You're behind a wall that like you can't actually see the person. So, you know, it's a little like shameless, I'd say, if you mess up or something. Yeah. So a lot of people actually try beatboxing. I encourage people to try it. It's a great uplifting space because, like I said, there's no shame. If someone's never heard beatboxing before, but they want to try it out because they heard me and they thought it was cool, they'll try it, and I'll cheer them on, and I'll teach them some basics, and they feel like they had a good time. You know, I try to let everyone have a good time in VR. You know, everyone I touch, like, I hope that has a good time.
Yeah, nice, man. It sounds like it could be a great space for holding beatbox workshops and classes as well, maybe.
Yeah, I've also thought about that, doing like, in addition to those once a week things, like, you know, rotating in, maybe getting like a master class in there. And there's also some cool capabilities where you can live stream or watch a video in the virtual world. So you can get people all together for a watch party or something. Like, for example, like we are on this Twitch stream right now, but we could potentially in some VR applications get this Twitch streamed live into VR, into some VR worlds, and you can have a crowd of people watching the stream and reacting to it and talking to each other as it's going on.
Nice, man. That's one way to put the finger up to COVID and being like, we're still having fun.
Yeah.
And you kind of touched on about you did a beatbox battle on another application. I found could you just explain about that? Because I'd like to find out more about it. Because I guess as a battler, would it work as if you're on stage and you're battling, and if you have a VR setup, can you literally feel like you're kind of one-on-one with an opponent?
Yes, it really feels like it is, because I mean, it's just like in real life. Like when you have a VR headset on, I have my headset here, I can show you. Like when you have this thing on, when you have it on, it's your entire vision that becomes like, your first person in there. So, just the way that, like, if you're playing a video game in first person, imagine that, but that's your entire vision. So when you're battling someone, and also when you move your arms and you're moving around because you're beatboxing, you see it in VR. You see your hands in VR, and you see your arms and stuff. So it's just super cool, and I feel like it's super realistic to battle, and I feel like it's also really great for people that can't go to live events. It's like a good substitute because it feels so genuine, and you have a real crowd of people that you could look out to. And honestly, when I started beatboxing for crowds in VR, I was very nervous. Like some of the first times that I had beatboxed for crowds in real life, like I was like, oh my God, there's so many people looking at me right now and they're thinking about this, and they're all, they're dependent on me to have a good time right now.
Yeah. Totally.
So it's really cool. So I'll tell you more about that battle. We had 3 judges, and all they did, they just judged eliminations, and then the rest of the battles were crowd votes. So we had like 12 or 13 battlers, I think, and then we narrowed it down to a top 8, and then we did a regular top 8 bracket as you'd expect. But then at the end of the battles, we'd say, like, all right, everyone run to this side of the room if you vote for this person, and everyone run to this side of the room if you vote for this person, so that we would just count heads at that point, and that would be how the person would win.
That's great. That sounds like the most fun beatbox battle you could ever go to.
It's awesome, and the best part is because in Rec Room you can't do it in Altspace, but in Rec Room you can actually make your avatar jump like up and down. So you would do something like everybody jump, and you'd see like 30 avatars just like jumping up and down. It's so funny. It's so funny.
That sounds like, hey, everyone needs to get on this beatbox VR. Do you have any recommendations for like a budget VR kit that people can get?
Well, here's what I'm going to tell you. Here's what I'm going to tell you. So Facebook just launched their Oculus Quest 2. I have the Oculus Quest version 1. It was like $500, which is kind of a lot. But they just launched the Oculus Quest version 2, and that is supposed to be like worlds beyond much more advanced and more capable. And it's only $300. So it's a lot cheaper. The barrier to entry is super low. $300 is really not that expensive to get into VR.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to be very high quality gear. And you don't need a computer to run it. You just need the headset because it has its own computer chip and Wi-Fi connector. It can run by itself, and it's one of a kind. Like I think the Quest is the only one, or one of the only VR headsets on the market that's like really good, that is standalone, that you don't need a gaming computer to do. But otherwise, some VR headsets you need a gaming computer. That being said, you can play some of these games with minimal computing power. For example, like Altspace and Rec Room are both accessible on Windows computers, and it doesn't take a gaming computer to play. Like you can play it on your Chromebook if you really wanted to, I'm pretty sure. But so Altspace is available on the headset as well as just the computer in 2-dimensional mode. But Rec Room is available on lots of platforms. It's actually super accessible, which is really cool. You can access it on a Windows computer, a PlayStation. You can access it on an iPhone. You can download an iPhone app and play Rec Room. Like I know my buddy Sus, when we did our Rec Room battle, he battled on his phone.
Huh.
And he was in VR. It was super cool. And I think it's actually coming to Xbox in the next few months too. So like it's really accessible. And I think it's really cool. So I think if you're not in the market to buy a VR headset, you can still play these apps for free if you download them. Oh wait, Callisto in the chat says it's already on Xbox. So that's hype.
There you go.
But what's up, Callisto? Callisto is actually one of the guys who helped me out with that Rec Room battle. And he lives in France. He's a homie.
Sick.
But yeah, so it's actually free to join all these services, free to make an account, free to have fun and do the things.
Wicked.
So really, if you want a starter beatbox kit, if you have a Windows computer, it's time to go. It's time to get on right now.
Get involved, guys. I want to see many more VR beatbox events because I think that's a super cool like way of adapting, especially now, and not even, obviously due to the situation is one thing, but I think you raise a good point about saying if you can't make an event, and I feel like maybe events can have like an accessible way for you to still be at the event even if you can't be at the event as well. So I think it's really great.
Yeah, it's right.
And
I mean, you could do let's say like you couldn't make it out to GBB or something, right? Because that's pretty far trek for someone in America, right?
Yeah.
You could go to a VR watch party and you can hang out with other beatboxers that are interested in watching and chat with them and react with them instead of like, you preferably you do like a real life watch party, but in the coronavirus that we live in today, you can't really do that. So like VR is a great way around that.
Yeah, nice, man. And yeah, big up for like starting something, and I'm very excited to see what else VR Beatbox has in store. So I'll be looking out for that. And talking about Grand Beatbox Battle brings me on to something that you've started working with recently, which is Swiss Beatbox, which some people may know. It's this little channel that's around. So you've recently started working with Swiss Beatbox as their social media manager, which is pretty exciting. Working on their like Instagram and Facebook and stuff. How did that come about? Why did they pick you?
So I think what happened was I did a really good job with Long Island Beatbox, in my opinion. I think most people would say I did a pretty decent job with it in the first year. And before the first year was up, in about in February, no, it was January. I remember it was like over the holiday break, like just after the New Year. I was at home from school, and I got a message. Actually, I got a comment. It was like right after the second Long Island Beatbox battle when I had made a post that had said, that second beat battle was awesome. Thank you, everyone, for showing up. Should we do a multi-day event next time, right? Because I think people would be really into that. And Rachel from Swiss Beatbox, she commented on it with like a really nice comment. And I had seen her on my feed before, but I had always seen BBX after her name. But this time I saw SBX after her name, and I was like, wait, did a Swiss Beatbox team member just comment on my post? So I DM'd her, and I was like, thanks for your advice. Like, all this and that. And she wanted to call me. I think she was impressed with what I had done over the past year, because I had thrown 3 beatbox events in 10 months or something like that, or less than that. Yeah, August and January, and the one in between, the barbecue. I had thrown 3 beatbox events, and like I think she was impressed, and she saw what I did with my social media and how all of the success I had was from my Instagram page. Literally, I'm not on Facebook. I'm not on YouTube. It's just an Instagram page. And it's brought me so much great things. So she wanted to talk to me, and I think she just really vibed with me. And she basically scouted me onto the team and got me on a call with Paponi as well. And he liked me as well. He thought, I think we are pretty like-minded and driven in the same way about this beatboxing scene. And he really liked that. And then he said, you know what, like, Shazam is leaving. It's time that we need to get more social media people on our team. So they gave me the Instagram role because I knew most about Instagram. And actually, Yason had the Facebook page for a few weeks before he unfortunately had to leave to focus more on BoxCon, which he's doing a great job right now. So big ups to Yason for keeping it real and still being a friend of all of us and letting me on here. Yeah, is that Yason controlling the chat? I love you, bro.
Chat.
So that happened, and then I ended up taking over his position. Thanks, Yason. So we also have Hideful and Imran. They're from Russia and South Africa, respectively. And we also just got Pac-Max to our team as a video editor. Super nice guy. It's been a pleasure working with all of those people. And so since about March, since those like MB14 tutorials were going out, that's when I started. And now I'm pretty settled. I would say I'm pretty settled into the position now. And Swiss Beatbox is changing a lot. Swiss Beatbox is really changing a lot, especially with Shazam leaving. And they're kind of restructuring in a way that, like, in the long term, will make Swiss Beatbox much better for the people and for themselves. Everyone's going to be really happy with Swiss Beatbox. In the future, I think everything's going really well for them. But yeah, I feel really settled in my position, and things are still kind of shifting around, but it's been a really, really interesting ride. Like, I went from thinking I was hot shit managing a page with 1,000 followers, and now I manage a page with over 500,000 subscribers, and I reached, and also that Facebook page with a similar number of likes and follows. And it's just crazy. Like I've been kind of into social media and stuff since high school. I remember doing like hours and hours and hours of research on Instagram growth. I'm sure everyone did that, but I was really interested in it. But I didn't like pushing my personal page so hard, and so I got really passionate about doing this beatbox page that wasn't about myself, because I didn't really care too much about pushing myself as an influencer. Although now times are different. I like to think that I'd like to become an influencer, or whatever the word that means, one day. But I just think it's pretty interesting seeing how all that research kind of paid off in the end. 3-4 years later, now I'm running the Swiss Beatbox pages, and I think I'm doing a good job. We're seeing some decent growth. I mean, all beatbox channels since the quarantine have been taking a hit. People just aren't really looking for new beatbox content right now, but we're trying our best to make it as interesting as possible, and to make it, as enticing as it was before, especially with no GBB content. Right now would be about the time that we're releasing all of the Grand Beatbox battles, and we'd be getting millions and millions and millions of views. But right now we're not, because, it's hard times and low view counts, and it just happens. But we're getting back to a good spot, and I think very soon there's some cool stuff coming in. It's just all very humbling also to be on this Swiss Beatbox team, and to be so young and so new to the scene, to be reached out to and seen as someone that is important to the scene in whatever way that I'm important, is really humbling. And I'm just very grateful for the position that I'm in. And it honestly makes me very happy to be where I am, and it enables me, and it gives me the confidence that beatboxing is a lifestyle and a hobby, but also could become a career one day. And I'm trying my hardest to make it a career and, stick with it, because it's truly a passion. And I go to school for music business. I didn't know what I would end up in, maybe publishing or management, or who knows. But doing this live event stuff and this real interaction with this tight community has shown me that this is the part of the music that I really love, is this beatbox culture. It's so underground, and it's about to hit the mainstream. I'm sure it. It's about to hit the mainstream. They're going to be teaching beatboxing in schools the same way that they teach you do re mi. They're going to teach you boots and cats. It's going to be, and I'm just very humbled to be on the forefront of it. It's very cool for me.
Well, big up to you, man. I think it's amazing the work you've done, especially shown through the Long Island beatbox stuff, and now working with someone like Swiss Beatbox, who's obviously the biggest channel and kind of platform in beatboxing at the moment. And it's amazing the stuff you're doing, and I think it's also interesting for a lot of viewers and beatboxers out there who don't know the kind of back end side of Swiss Beatbox, because obviously Poponi is the face of Swiss Beatbox most of the time, and so people just probably a bit less now, but it's definitely, I'm sure a lot of the younger generation think, oh, it's just Poponi doing everything, and it's there is a team of amazing people who are doing stuff, and they are they're doing great stuff. So big up to you, and I think we're seeing more of them come out. So yeah, big up, man.
Yeah, it's been a lot of work. It's honestly pretty interesting how many messages I get a day, on those accounts that I run, that are just Poponi, answer me. Poponi, I love you. Just I'm not Poponi.
Not today, anyway.
Not today. I'm not Poponi.
But yeah, man, wicked. Well, I think that about wraps up our chat, unless we got any questions in the chat. I don't think there have been.
I don't think anyone's asked any questions. Listen, it's been a pleasure. I really appreciate you guys reaching out to me and adding me onto this community spotlight. It's really, really cool to be a part of it. And thank you so much to everyone on the BoxCon Global team. You guys are doing really great. And can I follow the Twitch? Can I like it?
Please follow. Oh, actually, we've had one question. We've had one question from Callisto 1407, who says, Jack Nasty, where does he see himself in 5 years?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah, that's a great question.
In 5 years, I'd really like to have a name for myself and be popular within the beatboxing scene, but not just beatboxing, but also have done something really important for the music scene in the world. So I'm hoping that with VR Beatbox and anything that I come up with soon that it will have a great impact on the world. Like, you know, VR is not just great for beatboxers, it's great for everyone. Like, everyone has a good time in there. So I just really want to do something wonderful for this world. And, you know, I don't really see myself being a solo beatbox artist. Maybe when I get a loop station, everything will change. But I don't see myself pushing myself in that way. I see myself as more an event organizer, an event host. I really love hosting events. I think it's super fun. I love talking to a crowd more than I love battling. As I said, like, I'm not a huge battler, but I just really would love to, like, you know, have a name that has a face, you know what I mean? And
for sure.
And just make a mark.
Yeah, sick. Well, there you have it, guys. And I think, you know, you're on the right track, man, with some of the stuff you're doing, especially the VR thing. I'm really excited to see
I mean,
more
you should come join us. We go in there every few days to, like, do some jams, and sometimes we record them for videos, sometimes we don't. But it's all just, you know, it's a good way to connect. And, like, honestly, I've met people that I haven't seen in so long in VR, and it's super cool. And I really love it. I really do.
Sick, man. Well, I think the only right way to finish off this amazing interview is to get a special little freestyle from JACKNASTY himself. So if you're down, my friend,
Yeah, sure.
Everyone in the chat, please put your ones up. Please make some noise for JACKNASTY.
Yeah. All right. I don't really have any routine, so I'm just gonna do my freestyle. You know how it is. Thanks for listening.
Yeah. Sick. Sick, man. Shout out to JACKNASTY. That was dope, man. Thank you again for being here. That was a great chat. And yeah, like I say, really exciting stuff that you're doing, and big up to everything. And last but not least, please tell the people where they can find you, where they can find Long Island Beatbox online and all the good stuff.
Yeah, okay, guys. Everyone, please, if you want, you don't have to, but please, if you want, below me, you can see on the Twitch stream, it says @JackGross_. That is how you find me on Instagram. If you want to follow VR Beatbox, you can find us on YouTube, VR space Beatbox. You know, it's pretty easy. If you like VR, go to VR. If you like Beatbox, go to Beatbox. That's what I tell people. And if you want to find Long Island Beatbox, and we're on Instagram at Long Island Beatbox. I've been on a little break because of quarantine and stuff, but I do have plans to get some shout outs in. So if you actually want a shout out, come DM me. I'll give anyone a shout out. Pretty much.
Sick.
So yeah, thank you again for letting me on the show. It's been a pleasure talking.
Wicked, man. Thank you so much. And yeah, that's about it for Community Spotlight this time. Shout out to BoxCon Global. I've been your host, Hobbit. Once again, thank you to Jack Nasty. Thanks to Douche. Thank you to Yason. And we will see you soon. Peace.
Bye-bye.